Hello and welcome to the England B Team podcast, a football podcast brought to you by an Englishman who wasn't good enough to make it as a professional footballer
and an Irishman who wasn't good enough to play for England.
My name's Joe and this is my co-host Gareth and we're here to talk about all things football. Yeah?
Right.
How are you, Gareth?
I'm good. I'm very hyped for episode 3.
Yeah?
I'm very hyped. I can't believe we've got this far, to be totally honest. I didn't think we'd make it 3 episodes in, so... How are you feeling?
I'm good. I mean, just in advance, I'm not feeling my best, so if my voice sounds a bit husky, a bit like Gareth's in the first episode, then yeah, apologies in advance, but I'm feeling good. Very excited again to be on the microphone.
I think you sound wonderful.
Thank you.
To be totally honest.
I appreciate that.
In episode 1 I sounded like Scooby-Doo. When I first recording, it was awful.
There we go.
It was fucking terrible. Yeah.
But yeah, feeling good. Excited again to bring some more podcasts for you guys. And again, thank you once again for listening, for watching. Watching our TikToks, following us on Twitter.
Yeah.
All of that.
And again, thank you to our fans in Austria.
Yes.
We spent another week at number 1 in Austria there. I think we're now off the number 1 spot as a football podcast in Austria. It was good while it lasted, but
it's okay.
Hopefully we'll get them back with this episode. We'll catch you guys back.
Yeah, because
Austrian fans.
Maybe we can now introduce the episode.
Go ahead, so tell them.
Or maybe this episode will be more interesting for our German fans and English fans as well, of course, because for this episode, I think we were kind of thinking it'd been more like a series, or kind of, because I need to say we're British, but we're not. Okay, so Gareth is from...
Be very careful what you say.
Gareth is from Ireland, I'm from England, of course, but we both watch lots of English football.
Yeah.
And we live in Germany, and so now we watch lots of German football.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'd like a series to kind of compare English and German football. For in the future, it could be comparing the national teams. Of course, there's been some big games in the past. Our match day experiences, for example, comparing games in England, comparing games in Germany. Yeah. But for today, this is kind of an episode that close to my heart, because the episode is based on comparing England and Germany, but the football structures. Yeah. What do I mean by that? Of course, we mean the Premier League and the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga 2 also, because it's kind of more linked to the first division than the
championship would be to the...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But also kind of like how the TV money has impacted these leagues, the development of each leagues, etc. And why am I doing this? And again, why am I wearing a Dortmund shirt? It's because I used to live in Dortmund. I studied there for a year back in 2016-17. And during that year, I wrote a paper for my university on... Let me read the title quickly. I need to read this. A comparative study of the German and English professional football structures and the effects of increased television revenues on these structures and their stakeholders.
Fascinating topic, can I say as well. I read this. You sent me this a few years ago when you first wrote it. I thought it was fascinating.
Do you know who else read this paper?
No.
Derek Ray.
Oh, you told me this, a guy from Twitter, yeah.
Well, he tweeted a few years ago, I think it's during one of the lockdowns, and on this topic, and I tweeted saying, "Oh, hey Derek, I wrote a paper on this," and he replied saying, "Yeah, hey Joe, I'd love to read this sometime."
Did he actually read it?
I don't know, but he sent me a DM, gave me his email address, gave me his email address.
Did he ever get back to you after?
No.
Well, Derek, if you're watching, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you, Derek.
Find out.
I mean, the paper, of course, is a bit outdated, but it looked into the developments of each leagues, the impact on the structures with regards to TV revenue, and of course how the differences in culture and laws impact each leagues.
Yeah, it's a fascinating subject, and it was really cool to see it actually written down.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very aware that there is cultural differences between German football and English football, and you know some stereotypes and stuff of it, but when you see it written down in black and white, you take it in a little bit more. Yeah. And then I started to link that and see what I could see when I actually do go to both games and both sides. It is a fascinating topic, especially the TV revenue thing. I think that was something
especially, like I said, it was from 2016-17, so it's a bit outdated, but a lot of the stuff, the figures are probably different now, but a lot of the stuff...
But the idea of the trend is the same.
I mean, we'll dive into that a bit later. But also it mentions a lot about how German law also impacts the Bundesliga, for example, and less how UK law impacts the Premier League. And also one of the other things kind of dived into that I won't discuss too much later, but also kind of how about ticket prices. And I did a survey asking both English and German fans what they thought, and of course it was pretty unanimous that English fans don't go to as many games because it's expensive. Whereas German fans can go to more games because it's much cheaper.
There's the obvious, we say obvious differences. For anyone who knows about football, there's obvious differences between the two leagues. It would be hard for me to choose one or the other. I love both with all my heart. But yeah, hopefully when we get into this, maybe even it'll clear up for me which one I prefer.
Yeah.
It is a really fascinating thing. Do you want to sort of explain what you're going to be talking? This is a very Joe episode, by the way. This is all Joe's research. He's an expert in this, so I'm kind of sitting in and joining in as well. I'm going to watch. So do you want to tell us what you're going to be talking about?
So yeah, this is kind of the introduction to the topic, but what we'll be diving into. So I kind of want to talk about distribution of the money in each league.
TV money?
TV money, exactly. Yeah. TV revenue. But revenue that is just paid for by the national broadcaster. So Sky Sports paying for the Premier League and Sky Sport Deutschland paying for Bundesliga. Doesn't include international numbers in this paper.
Okay, does it include other regional newspaper or channels? So the other way, sometimes in the UK you'll get games on BT, or in Germany
so it's
you get
Sky
RTL
Sports, BT and Amazon Prime. Whereas in Germany, well, when I did this paper released, it was just Sky, I think, at the time, because DAZN wasn't really popular now.
Yeah, and I think DAZN has lost a lot of the Bundesliga stuff anyway.
I'm not sure, but
there is
also,
some
I
games
think
on
Amazon
RTL.
Prime also have Bundesliga.
Rarely,
Yeah, so
the vast majority of Sky Sports Deutschland,
diving into that. Then we'll talk a bit about how German and English football has changed, what caused these changes, especially in Germany in the early 2000s, whereas more so in England, kind of in the last 5 years, English football has changed quite dramatically. And kind of a bit about how that impacts the national teams as well. I also did a cultural comparison using this this Dutch psychologist, dimensions he created. I won't go into too much detail about that because it's not super football related, but I'll touch on that a little bit. Then Gareth will very kindly give us a very nice overview of the 50+1 rule. Maybe you want to share a bit more about that?
Well, that's something that, I think a lot of football fans are aware of the 50+1 rule, but living in Germany, and now I'm involved as a fan quite heavily with Leverkusen as well, and I see the sport a lot, I understand the actual practical influence of it, because I think a lot of people don't really understand how it works for a normal person in the club. Like, what do you actually vote for? Where does it all come in directly? So I'll touch on that, and then there is a few exceptions to that, a few famous ones, and how those clubs are also run, because that's really fascinating. I don't think a lot of people are aware of how the two exceptions to the 50+1 rule get around that, and how they involve the fans equally, if not more, to be honest. I
also actually mentioned in the paper as well why 50+1 wouldn't work in the UK.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Because it's kind of, again, it's very linked to the German laws, the German ways of working, how society functions. Then a bit more information on kind of developments in each league's kind of what the average salaries is in each league, where it was back in 2017 than it is now, and then I think we'll kind of round it at the end on our opinions on each leagues, e.g. what's the positives of the Premier League, what's the negatives, and the same for the Bundesliga.
Hopefully I'll make my mind up by the end of this. I'm not really sure if I could pick one, to be honest. So
I do get a lot of stick from my friends in the UK who don't understand why I try to pick up the Bundesliga, but I do really enjoy the league. But
I adore the Bundesliga.
Yeah, we can touch on this a bit later.
Yeah.
I think for now we're going to have a very quick game once again, because I know you guys love that. And
also gets us a bit warmed up, gets the brain going as well.
So we'll get started with that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are again with another Wikipedia career path challenge.
You hear that sigh from me there? You hear that fucking... Look, sorry, but...
I've done quite well, but I don't know every player, and there will be a time where I stumble.
I really feel like you do know every player.
No.
And I know
kind of said that there's an era between 2011 and 2016 where my knowledge isn't as good. I don't know why. I don't know if I watched less football that time, or
I retained
less information than that time.
Yeah, I had the same
when
problem.
I was at university. I don't know, but
we're similar ages as well. So maybe there's something. Well, similar. What age are you?
27.
I'm 30. Yeah.
How rude.
Yeah, I know. This is what a young man looks like in Ireland. For the audio listeners, sorry you can't see that. Go check out the video podcast. Right, okay, how are we going to do this? Are we going to do... I've got two for you.
I have two as well.
Do you want to just do both in a row for each other, or do you want to go 1-1-1-1?
Let's go 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah, to keep fresh.
Should I go first? Okay. You start.
Okay.
Give me what I've got. So just give me out the list
here, but
So yeah, I'm sure you're all familiar about what we're doing here, but just to quickly clarify, he's going to read out a list of clubs. It's the career path of a certain player, and I have to guess who that player is.
Yes, thank you very much.
Right, Rocket, go.
All right, I think you should get this one, but let's see.
Don't patronise me.
Chelsea, Middlesbrough, Stoke City, on loan at Leicester, then joined Leicester permanently.
That's Robert Huth.
There we go.
That one I know.
There we go. That was.
I used to love Robert Huth. The Berlin Wall. They call him the Berlin Wall or the German Wall?
I can't remember.
Must have been the Berlin Wall. The German Wall wouldn't make sense, would it?
No, I can't remember.
He's from Berlin.
Where he's from. I think he's from East.
I think he's East Berlin.
Yeah,
actually,
I think so too,
as well. Yeah. He would be pre. Yeah, he would have been born pre-unification. I think he would have been around that time.
Yeah.
Unification was what?
But he was a great player.
92. Oh, he was superb. I used to love when the Chelsea fans were
and he scored free kicks as well.
He did.
I think he scored a free kick against
Big
West Brom
booster.
once. Yeah.
He was a big booster. Just got his big toe right through the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, he was great.
Toe punt.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got that one. That's good.
Right.
Okay, we're off to a good start. Right.
My turn.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. It is Manchester United, Sydney, Croatia, Aston Villa, Manchester United, Chelsea, Central Coast Mariners, and Sydney Olympic.
Mark Bosnich.
Okay, that's the easy one though. I'm going to say that is the easy one.
Okay.
The next one's harder. Okay.
Sydney, Croatia. That's an interesting team.
I didn't know he started at United before he went over and then came back. United right at the start. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
And was there not? No, again, I don't want to be done for slander here. Was Mark Bosnich not? Was he done for drugs or something? Yeah, there was something dodgy about him. Yeah.
He had a year ban. I can't remember how long it was, but he had a ban for substances. Let's say.
Oh, there's a 5-year gap in his CV here. Yeah, between Chelsea and when he went back to Australia. So.
It's okay. So maybe it was longer than a year.
He was enjoying himself in those 5 years. I bet he was.
Chelsea not much luck with players and substances. But around that time.
Around that time as well. Yeah.
Mutu
was
Let's not dive into that.
Mutu was very fast in those years. I'll say that. Right, go.
All right, so second one for Gareth then.
Is it harder or easier, this one?
Harder.
Okay. I genuinely think I've got a good one for
you. All right.
Next.
Borussia Neunkirchen, Eintracht Frankfurt, Fenerbahce, Paris Saint-Germain, Bolton, Qatar, SC, Hull City.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Man, that's a tough one. Now, I'm going to guess it's a German player if they're starting their career in Germany. That's usually the indication.
Not German.
Turkish?
Not Turkish.
Fuck.
Not European.
Can you give me the years? Or the rough kind of years? What kind of year we're talking about?
So he started in 1990. Then his next biggest club, he joined Paris in 1998.
Ooh.
Bolton 2002 to 2006. Then a year in Qatar. They went to Hull City for a season, 2007, 2008.
Bolton 2002 to 2006. Is it JJ Okocha?
JJ Okocha.
Fuck yes.
Nice. Very good.
Man. Get in. It's a good Bolton team.
Yeah, no idea he started in Germany.
No, I had no idea.
Crazy,
there you are.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
I'm not sure.
There's normally an interesting reason why players start where they start.
Yeah.
They have family ties to it or there's some kind of link. It's rare that
they
go
left
like
their home country for one reason or another.
But usually then you'll find like a lot of African players will go to France or England or the former colony system.
That's true. It's true. But
to be honest, the German team you told me as well, I'm not really that familiar with them either. There's a lot of German teams I have no idea about.
No, I've never heard of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of German teams that I've never even heard of. In a few weeks I'm going to that first game of the German Cup. Leverkusen are playing a team called Teutonia Ottensen. Never heard of them.
Where are they playing?
St. Pauli Stadium.
So
that'll be good. They're up in Hamburg. They're a Hamburg-based team.
St. Pauli Stadium. I've been outside it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it actually.
Milan tour?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Really good club as well.
I'm looking forward to that, yeah. I've always wanted to go to one of them, but at least I'll go to the stadium. Hopefully we'll win that game, like Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, second one for you.
Last one before we dive into some more English and German football discussions.
Now this one I actually thought was hard, okay. So he started at Cruzeiro, PSV Eindhoven, Tottenham Hotspur, quick loan spell to Hoffenheim, Watford, and then he finished at Demokrata SL.
Alright, I think you're doing a goalkeeper theme. And it's Heredio Gomez.
Man, there's no... How did that... That was hard. Right, I do have a... Can I give you a bonus one? Can I give you one extra?
Okay, one bonus
one.
We have time.
I spare one in my pocket.
Alright.
In this situation. I thought that was hard, man.
Maybe I wouldn't have got if I didn't see the numbers.
I actually looked at the Spurs squad for one of those years, and at the same time they had Hugo Lloris, Brad Friedel, and Heredio Gomez on the books.
That's a good
option.
That's a good
Cudicini would have left as well around that time.
True, yeah.
Right, last one. This is a bonus one, just to see if I can catch you out. I think you're going to get this one actually as well. You can do whatever you want. Okay, Barcelona B, Barcelona, Everton, Sevilla, Everton, Milan, Barcelona, Watford, Udinese.
Gerard Deulofeu.
Man, how are you getting that? I would never have got that one. If you get that to me, I never would have got that.
He had kind of one of those... I forgot he went back to Barcelona as well. But,
was he good
around that system. I mean, Watford and Udinese have links. Same owner or something. And then...
Oh, really?
He had a bit of time at Everton. Haven't scored much in his career, has he?
He really hasn't.
Only at Watford.
Barcelona B, he was banging them in.
Yeah, but I think that's like Spanish third or second.
That's a player I never would have got that. I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, but again, another kind of player who didn't reach his full potential. Harder. But we're
going to record a few of these after the podcast, well, some separate ones, and I think I've got something harder up my sleeve. But someone had suggested in one of the comments that I give you the teams backwards to see if I can catch you out.
That's a good one, yeah.
Because what I don't want to do is to give you a player that you've never heard of. There's no point. Like I could give you like an Irish League player that played 4 games for Korea, and then you're not going to get it. There's no fun in that. I want to get it someone where you will go, oh yeah, right enough. Yeah, so I want to sit where it's not too hard. That's going to be impossible, but difficult enough.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough.
But reading it backwards,
but impossible players is kind of pointless. But
it is. It kills the crack.
But yeah. Anyway,
right. Well, there you are.
There we go. There's another Wikipedia challenge.
I'm really curious if the people...
we both got them all right, so...
True. I'm curious if the people watching this, when they watch or listen, are they getting it before we do?
Yeah.
Do you reckon they're getting it?
I would have got that one straight away.
Because I think we've told people to pause it as well.
Yeah, and also I don't want to shout it out until you finish reading the teams, because...
Yeah, because then for the audio listeners...
For the audience.
For the video listeners, it's fine, because I do have the...
boost my ego, but...
yeah. You have to wait until we're finished, at least.
But yeah,
nice.
There we go.
Okay.
All right, so I think it's time to dive into.
Let's get into this week's topic. Yeah, let's get stuck in. Right, let's go.
All right then. So now it's time to dive into the actual topic. So
let's get in.
Comparison of English and German football structures and any changes within those. So, like I said.
Sorry, can I just ask? We're talking about Bundesliga and Premier League.
Bundesliga and Premier League.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. But I will touch on a little bit about the national teams, but. Not too much, because there is an impact of like how the leagues develop, and that does impact the national teams as well. But yeah, so I think the first place to start with is kind of a distribution of the TV money in each league, because this has changed so much over the years, and of course it's had a big impact on each league.
Yeah,
more so the Premier League, because the TV deals they're insane. Out of this world. But did you know actually the Premier League and the Bundesliga are the two most valuable TV deals in professional football?
I find that incredible. I would have thought La Liga would have been well ahead.
No, Bundesliga's second place. I mean, this Premier League is on 1.6 billion euros, and
that's the valuation of the TV rights.
TV rights for one season.
Wow.
And the Bundesliga is just under, I think, about 950,000 euros, 950 million. euros.
Yeah, we're gonna. Just for clarification, we always talking in euros down here, are we? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Of course, the numbers have increased a little bit since then, but it's the same in 2017 as it was in 2023.
Yeah. Okay.
Premier League first, Bundesliga second.
Okay. Yeah.
But the crazy thing about all of this is, in England on TV, you don't get to watch all of the games.
Yeah.
So these companies are paying 1.6 billion a season. That
is insane.
Less than 200 games. About 200 games, I think it is.
And how many are there in total?
380.
There you are.
Yeah.
Wow.
380? I think so.
Now, I should explain.
38 times 10,
explain. I'm going to ask you, because you might know, because I'm not entirely sure. But the reason we don't have 3 o'clock kickoffs in Britain is to encourage you to watch your local team. Am I right?
I think so, yeah. But a lot of people say it's quite outdated, that rule now, because...
See, now, that is a rule that would be... That sounds German to me. That is the kind of rule that the Bundesliga would put in.
Yeah, but I think we've touched this a bit later, but the match-going experience in Germany is a lot more popular.
Do you think it does encourage... Like, would you go to your local team at 3 o'clock because Chelsea aren't on TV?
No, because I want to watch. There's still people will still find ways to watch these games no matter what. Like, not that we're supporting this, because we are very.
And I would never illegally stream.
No, never,
ever a channel. Dare you even accuse me?
Terrible, but So just as I was mentioning, of course, the Premier League is costing more but with less games. So value per game in the Premier League's 8 million per game for these TV providers, whereas in Germany it's 3 million per game.
Okay.
I think that's pounds.
That's
that number,
over
that
double,
one.
To be fair.
Yeah, and more on that topic is the team in the Premier League.
This blows my mind, by the way. Sorry,
that finishes bottom gets more TV money than the team finishes first in the Bundesliga. Which of course is typically Bayern Munich. So, for example, it was Sunderland back in 2016-17, I think, or 2015-16, after I read his paper. And they got more back then than the Bundesliga winner.
That is unbelievable. Yeah. That is unbelievable, yeah.
And, of course, they get, I don't know the full details of this, but they get these parachute payments as well once they get relegated. And they have a higher chance of coming back up. That's why you see a team getting promoted to the Premier League after getting relegated. And it's like Fulham spent 150 million.
Yeah, that's obscene. Like, that's
more of it sometimes than, I think that's more than like sometimes a Bundesliga transfer window would have, or at least a La Liga or Serie A transfer window.
Well, that's one of the defining differences between the two leagues is money.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's kind of what it all comes down to. Like, I actually had a list here which I researched a while ago. The risk list, like the valuations of the top 10 clubs in the Premier League versus the top 10 clubs in the Bundesliga, to give you a rough idea. Now, this is from last year, but if you take, for example, Bayer Leverkusen, they're valued at 434 million euros. Yeah. So in Germany, that would put them as the fourth richest club. Now, this is a valuation of a club, but it's the same people doing the valuation, so it's a good comparison. 434 million euros. If they were in the Premier League, that would bring them into 9th place.
That's crazy.
That would be just behind West Ham, just ahead of Leicester. Now, that's the fourth richest club. Actually, no, it wouldn't. It'd be 10th place. Wow. Below Leicester, just ahead of Villa.
That's crazy, yeah.
But in Germany, that's the fourth richest.
Before all this as well, like especially like 20 years ago, Leverkusen always thought was a huge club,
and they are,
But I mean, like they were to Champions League finals, etc. Within the last like 20 years or so, whereas Leicester were going up and down.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, Aston Villa back in the past were huge.
Yeah, this valuation on Leicester is now as well, and considering what's just happened to them, it's unbelievable to think a team that's been relegated is valued more than a team that got to the Europa League semi-finals last year. Dortmund are valued at 560, which would still put them into 7th place in England.
That's crazy.
Like, they're still below Spurs, United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, City.
A bit more than Newcastle. If you think about comparing, Newcastle are a big club in Europe, but you can't compare Dortmund to Newcastle. Like, Dortmund won Champions Leagues, one of the biggest stadiums in Europe, highest average attendance in Europe. Like,
massive support. They're a huge club.
It's just changed so much.
Like, even Dortmund, the 560 is putting them just ahead of like West Ham as well. Yeah, we're not that much ahead of them, and like
crazy.
You know, like West Ham, great club and stuff, but the second biggest club in Germany, Dortmund. Yeah. And to be honest, it could be well argued the biggest club in terms of support and culture and history.
Yeah.
So sorry, that's just to give you an idea. The figures, the money, it's insane.
That's really interesting as well. But yeah, kind of moving on now, maybe away from the numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the more another interesting part of this whole comparison is kind of the cultural differences and the legal differences between the two countries.
The legal one especially, I find interesting. And
kind of how these impacted the developments in each league. So I kind of spoke about in the paper how in the early 2000s, end of the 90s, Germany didn't have their best football years. So the early 2000s, they kind of reformed a lot of their football rules. And at the start of the 2000s, Germany was really the envy of the football world. You kind of think there's that period up to the 2014 World Cup where they were just dominant. Like,
of course, World Cup final as well in there too.
Yeah, they won 2014 and 2002 World Cup final, of course, exactly.
Euro final in 2008 was it? Or
2008. Yeah, 2008. Yeah, 2012 was Italy, Spain, I think. But but away from the national side, Germany's also kind of always been the envy because of the cheap tickets, the fan experience, the youth academies, and of course there's the better fan involvement as well.
There really is.
Whereas the UK government and the Premier League, they're always kind of at like a disagreement. Again, not to make this political, so I'm not taking any sides here because I don't
it is apolitical. We should say,
but there was not so much cooperation between the Premier League and the government, whereas in Germany there was a lot of good cooperation between the government.
Hugely so.
Yeah. Especially now, because something we'll touch on a bit later, the 50+1 rule.
Yeah.
There's some more information released about it yesterday, and this was kind of set by the German government, the Bundestag. It's just very different. So there's actually this word in German. It's called Mitbestimmung.
Mitbestimmung, yeah.
Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but it kind of translates to like co-determination.
Yeah.
Which is essentially employees and managers working together, which is very big in Germany.
Very common.
And it kind of then translates to 50+1 rule.
Yeah.
And in England, it's just not a thing, which is again why I kind of mentioned why the 50+1 rule wouldn't work in the UK. Because this is a part of German society.
I was about to say, that's a part of German culture.
Finding ways to resolve issues, which they did in the early 2000s.
Like even business structures in general in Germany, you'll find to be quite flat in that sense. Like the relationship between employees and managers is very smooth.
Workers are very
hierarchies aren't as clear as that. Workers' rights are hugely valued here. And trade unions are very powerful in Germany as well. And that's all to give this sort of flat understanding that if you involve everyone in the process during it, that's a huge part of German culture.
It's not political. It's just talking about how these things impact the football structure.
And these things go beyond politics, to be totally honest. Like, no matter what government you've got or which political parties are running, these things still exist. So that shows it's cultural as well. It's apolitical.
Yeah, so in the Premier League in England, there's less of that. Maybe in the last 5 years, there's been a lot more developments in English football, especially with the national team having a bit more success.
True.
Almost success, let's say. But yeah, so last thing before we kind of dive into 50+1 rule a bit more deeper. I also did like kind of a cultural comparison between England and Germany. Like I mentioned earlier, there's this guy called, I think, Gerard Hofstede, Dutch physiologist or psychologist, and he kind of used these 6 dimensions to compare countries. And one of them was called individualism. And these like dimensions, it shows the effects of society's culture on the value of its members and how these values rate to behaviour. And in individualism, both Germany and England, the UK scored quite high, but Germany's was lower. I think UK was like 89 on this scale. UK was 89 on this scale, and Germany was like 67. Yeah. Which kind of talk about how the UK is more of an individualistic country, whereas Germany is a bit more working together.
100%.
Which kind of again translates into what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. Again, on this topic, like I'm not an expert on this. This is just a paper I wrote, and I'd love any, especially German people, to. Is what I'm saying correct? Would you agree with this? Do you have a different opinion on why all these things impact?
Yeah, and also I think sort of you're talking about the cultural thing. This whole thing as a cultural concept. I feel like sometimes the Premier League has become a bit of a runaway train in this whole thing. It sort of goes outside cultural norms. We're saying the Bundesliga is a reflection of German society and culture, and I do think that's true. I don't think the Premier League is as much a reflection of English society. The Premier League is its own beast, and it's ran away, and it's very impressive what it's achieved.
And these leagues have positives and negatives, of course. I watched them both. I probably say I'm a bigger fan of the Premier League because I've watched that most of my life.
I love watching the Premier,
but it can. There's a chance it can get out of hand with the money, and especially seeing like the lower league clubs going out of business. I think you see that more in England than in Germany.
Germany, to be honest, I can't remember the last time I saw a financial scandal about a German football club. Nothing.
Or like went out of business or something.
Nothing. They're all run so well and so carefully. Which will touch into what goes into the 50+1 rule. Plays a huge part of that.
I think we can dive into now.
Yeah, well, let's get into it.
You want to take the lead on this one?
I'll talk a bit about this just because this is a subject I am fascinated by. The 50+1 rule. It's so German in its idea. So anyone who doesn't understand or isn't aware of this, the 50+1 rule was a rule brought in 1998. So up until 1998, German football clubs were run as strictly non-profit. So you couldn't make profit on it. If your club made money, it went back into the club. Okay, so it didn't go into anyone's pocket. There was no pockets to go into. They were totally fan-owned. So the fans had all percent. There were clubs, members clubs, essentially what English football clubs started as well. So in 1998, it sort of become a bit more competitive. They did allow foreign investment, but the fans have to retain 50% plus 1 share of voting rights. So that means foreign investment can't come in and totally take over the club. So I think the general idea of that is the fans have the ultimate say in how the club's run, and there's no outside influence or investor, just because they might not have the best ideas of the club at heart. And we have seen very crazy examples of that in the UK as well, where clubs will get taken over and essentially run into the ground. Because they're using it.
Blackpool nearly.
Wrexham at one time as well.
Yeah, true. They were fan owned before.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds.
But before that, they had a horrible owner, and that's sort of what drove the fan ownership to come into it. In essence, it means that private or commercial investors cannot take over clubs and potentially push through measures that prioritise profit over the wishes of supporter. And that's where it comes down to. Profit is not the main goal of German football clubs, and they obviously have to make money to stay competitive in Europe.
Clubs.
Yeah. But you see where the money goes. So it started in 1998.
More transparent, probably.
Hugely so. Hugely so. You can see the way it's run. Now, there are 2 exemptions currently in the Bundesliga about this.
3 now.
Well, are you talking about Hoffenheim? Hoffenheim have actually relinquished it.
Oh, really?
They've given it back. So Dietmar Hopp, I think you called him.
Yeah, he's a...
Yeah, so Hoffenheim's a fascinating story because Hoffenheim as a village is a tiny village. I think there's like 15,000 people.
New club as well, aren't they?
Yeah, the club I think itself was founded a long time ago, but this investment was I think he was involved in computer software development.
Yeah, he was.
So essentially if you want to apply for exemption from the 50+1 rule, you write to the Bundesliga, you have to prove that you've had steady financial responsible ownership from the same set of investors over 20 years. So basically you're looking for whoever's ran you for the last 20 years, they've got the best interests of the club at heart and they've proven that over 20 years. So you write to the Bundesliga and say we're going to apply for exemption. Dietmar Hopp did that, applied for it, got it. Now he's actually given his shares back to the fans. So they're back into the 50+1.
Okay.
That's a rare example because as an individual to be able to do that over 20 years, obviously, as an individual, it's hard to do that over 20 years, and you can't do it forever because individuals die. But a company can do that. So there are 2 exemptions permanently in the Bundesliga. I don't think they'll ever change. One is Wolfsburg, and the other is my team, Bayer Leverkusen.
Of course.
Now,
which is in the name.
Yeah. And that's very interesting because you're not allowed to put sponsorship names in your club name. We're exempt from that because Bayer Leverkusen started as a workers' club for people in the Bayer.
So in the Champions League, for example, Leipzig aren't allowed to be called Red Bull Leipzig.
They're not in the Bundesliga either. They're not legally called.
Okay.
They are RB Leipzig.
Yeah. But I mean, it's Rasenball Sport.
Rasenball Sport. Which is a totally made up name, by the way. That's not a thing. There's no other Rasenball Sport club in Germany. That's totally made up so it fits with R and B.
Yeah.
It's stupid sometimes when you read in the whole Leipzig thing.
Yeah.
I'm actually not totally against the idea of Leipzig either, but I'll get onto that later. But
controversial.
I don't hate Leipzig as much as people do.
Also, they're somehow not one of the clubs exempt from 50+1. They actually are.
They have a very clever way of getting around that 50+1 rule, which I'll get into then. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So you know what the 50+1 rule is. It's been running for a while now. The fans get the voting measure. I think one thing that people are a bit unsure of though is what does that actually mean? You've got voting rights. Does that mean you vote on transfers? I used to think that. I used to think every transfer you have to go through the fans. They'd have to vote on it, and you get no. It's not that at all. So basically, the way it works is the men's first. It's different for every club, okay? But I'm going to use Munich and Dortmund as the examples. The men's first team tends to be a subsidiary part of the company. So there's the overall football club, and then a subsidiary company, a small part of the company, will be the men's first team. Or in Dortmund, they have one that covers the men's first team and the youth teams, and I think the women's team might be included in as well. One of those two has to be priority owned by the fans. Okay, so in Munich, for example, there is a separate company for the men's first team.
Okay.
They're subsidiaries. They're 75% owned by fans. Adidas have a big share in that, 8.3%. Allianz and Audi have 8.3% as well, but 75% is fans. Munich have the biggest members of any sports club in the world, the most members, over 300,000.
That's crazy.
Now, with membership for clubs, that differs in price. Munich, I think, is somewhere about €60.
Okay.
I can go lower depending on what kind of rights you want to get with it.
I think Cologne's close to €90.
Yeah, generally they'll go up to Cologne maybe 100. This is per year as well.
Okay, yeah.
So €100 a year, it'll get you voting rights for most of it. Yeah. Now we're talking about Leipzig as one of those weird examples.
Yeah.
Leipzig do have the 50+1 rule.
Yeah. Do you know how many members they have?
17.
21 now.
It's 21 now?
But
yeah.
They're all Red Bull employees.
Well, I know the price of a membership there is well over £1,000. They're very murky as well about what the structure is. So you go on to any other Bundesliga team, go to their website, you can buy a membership. Yeah. You can go and apply for it. It's very easy to do.
Yeah, you got Leverkusen membership as well.
Got a Leverkusen membership.
I think it's 30.
Although we don't get voting rights for that, obviously, because we're exempt.
But you get.
But it's £35.
Yeah, you get.
Couple of tickets for a game,
cheaper tickets. Yeah, you get
lovely scarf
tickets. Yeah, welcome box, all of that.
So you can go on the website and see these things.
Yeah,
but you go on to RB Leipzig's website, you're not finding that. They're very murky about the membership structure. We do know they have a thing called a gold membership, which is just over €1,000 a year, which obviously puts off your average fan massively. But the gold membership doesn't even give you voting rights.
Wow.
So there's nobody really knows, or not nobody really knows, I'm sure some people know, but it's not widely accepted or widely known what the membership that gets you voting right costs. So all the people that sit on the board of RB Leipzig are Red Bull employees. They obviously have the Red Bull hearts. They're going to vote in favour of any commercial deals that come with it. They're going to vote in totally. They don't really care about the fans. They're not fans themselves. They don't need to care. So yeah, RB Leipzig actually started as a different club. That's how Red Bull sort of found the way around it. They started as SSV Markranstädt, I think you call it.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
And they were in the 5th division, and Red Bull just found it really. They have a factory nearby. They bought over the club, put in people on the board, raised the membership fee.
MK Dons at Wimbledon.
Yeah,
kind of similar kind of. rising from a dead club.
I feel sorry for the Markranstädt fans though, the real original ones, because like their club got bought over, the logo changed, the stadium changed, the badge changed, the colours changed. There's nothing left.
And
of the old club.
That's very rare in Germany,
because you can't start a club and do that. You have to go and buy one. So Leipzig are quite hated for that as well, because the 50+1 rule, as we said, is so culturally embedded in Germany as this thing of like the fans' interests are at heart. I'll just say quickly, the reason I don't totally despise Leipzig is because I do feel like East Germany deserves a good football team.
Yeah.
The East has fallen behind. Before unification, there was much less money in the East. If you look at the Bundesliga now, most of the teams are from West Germany.
Yeah, but now this season, we'll go into the new season. There's 2 East German teams in Champions League.
Well, yeah, so Union Berlin are East German club.
Got relegated. So.
Hertha Berlin are a West German club though, because they were from West Berlin.
That's a good point. Yeah,
so they're West German. Union Berlin are East German. There's only been 4 teams. I think it's East. Union Berlin, Dynamo Dresden, RB Leipzig, and what do you call the other one?
Speaking German now.
Hansa Rostock. Are they East German, aren't they?
Yeah, they're more in the north though, aren't they? As well,
and most of them, like, they jump up and down between the 2 leagues. Most of the Bundesliga is all West German.
Sometimes as well, yeah.
So that's why I don't hate them. I think East Germany deserves a top football team. But anyway, we'll get on with that.
So we're speaking about 20 minutes now on this topic. Where are we going to bring us down to?
Well, the 50+1 rule, it's a great rule. It sets it apart from England. I think that's the main thing about German football. The fans feel so involved in the sport. They vote on ticket prices. They vote on the price of food. They vote. So they'll elect their president to run the football
division. It's kind of shame we
division.
can't do this in Leverkusen. But again,
But I can. So Leverkusen are exempt, but they do have a fan group called the Nordkirchwitz 12, and that is an umbrella group for all the fans. True. I'm a part of that. So we vote. We have a fan council of 12 people that are elected, and they go and meet with the club. And to be honest, they probably get more invested than normal membership clubs do, because they're quite nervous about the club running away with it.
But the club is so well run as well.
Yeah. And the fans will hold them to account. And I think that's a general thing. If the fans have power here in Germany, if they do a protest, the club will listen.
For example, Bayern Munich had, I think, Qatar Airways were a sleeve sponsor or something, and because of the fans protesting, that's now been cut. And they protest transfers. There was a transfer recently from Felix and Metzger from Wolfsburg, Dortmund, and he had some questionable opinions, and the fans protested that.
Even still,
the transfer went through, but a lot of the time you will see a lot of stuff like cancelled or debated with fans because there really is big fan involvement.
Hugely. Tickets are so cheap. Everything's great in the Bundesliga day out. So that's a 50+1 rule that plays into all this.
And it is really a really good thing. Like I said, probably wouldn't work in England.
No. But why do you not think it would work?
I think it's too far gone. Like, how can you bring it back?
Yeah. Again, Premier League's a runaway beast. We're not going to get that. I don't know.
It's just like it doesn't seem to be a UK, an English thing to do. Like,
no.
Like, it can work in some cases, but like
culturally, we don't feel that need.
And
to
like
get
how commercial the Premier League's been since 1992, it was all focused around foreign investment, which of course is positive as well. But in the Bundesliga, this really works.
I know, and I think the problem with the Premier League...
You couldn't imagine the Bundesliga without this 50+1 rule.
Well, we're going to talk about benefits of both of them, but like the main benefit of the Premier League is the quality of the football. It's excellent. The best players in the world are there. So, like, I'm a Chelsea fan. I can't get tickets for love nor money to Chelsea, and I'm a member as well.
My brother very luckily got a season ticket. It was passed down from my family.
But it has to be passed on.
Yeah,
like, it's so hard. Even I'm a member, I can't get tickets for a game.
No,
but...
Yeah. If any Chelsea fans are listening, I bought tickets for a long time since I live in Germany now, but the virtual waiting room is the biggest pain. Like, so painful. Trying to wake up at 7 a.m. and get on it. And it's just luck.
I try to get once a season, but it's impossible. And that tells you. But at the same time, we've won the Champions League twice, and we've won a load of league titles. And do I sacrifice me being able to actually go to the game for the success? I don't know. Maybe I do.
But maybe before we kind of finalise it with our opinions on the topic and positive and negative, there's a few more kind of stats I want to touch on.
I love these. Go ahead. Hit us up on it.
For example, Premier League is the most watched league in the world, which is pretty common knowledge, and especially maybe a bit less so now because the money is so crazy. But most clubs don't turn a profit. Whereas in the Bundesliga is the highest average attendance in Europe. And back in 2016, 14 out of 16 clubs in the Bundesliga made a profit.
That's insane.
Which is crazy. Which is, of course, before COVID, and a lot of stuff's changed since then.
Well, it's insane compared to the Premier League in general.
But like, insane. Even after COVID, you're seeing a lot of Spanish clubs having lots of financial issues now, lots of Italian clubs as well. Okay, maybe German clubs aren't spending as much as the Premier League clubs, but a lot of clubs are stable, at least. They're not going to go out of business anytime soon. And
no, not at all.
Of course, some will get relegated. Like, for example, Schalke, they had some problems.
Big teams have been relegated, but they're financially okay.
Yeah, but it's just a competition. There's another interesting kind of what Gareth touched on earlier about the value list. For example, average salary. So, average salary of a player in the Brentford is the lowest in the Premier League, which is 640,000 a year.
Okay.
Sounds quite low, but I guess you're also considering like players who are earning like 1,000 a week or whatever.
Yeah, so we're talking like lower, like reserve players, or
which is the same as Cologne, who are 11th. I think the lowest in the Bundesliga last season was Bochum with 220,000.
Okay.
Which is
a low salary,
very low compared to the Premier League.
Well, even Leverkusen, the average senior player salary is between 30 and 60k a week, and that's for like senior men's teams players. Yeah. And you think like
David De Gea is a goalkeeper on nearly 400,000 a week.
Leverkusen can't afford that. That's unthinkable. To go over 50 was a big deal for them, fourth biggest club. So
and the last thing is that the split of the Bundesliga money is a lot more equal. Not more equal, because the money is equally split in the Premier League, but it's kind of the way it's done is split between the Bundesliga 2 as well. Like, they also get some money from the TV
hugely
rights.
Important,
and you also get benefits for like youth talent and stuff. So if you bring through a certain number of academy players, you also get extra money.
Yeah, you're rewarded for that. Yeah, of course. It's a great incentive.
Really good. But I think this is a lot of good information. I hope you guys found this interesting, and we want to kind of close this topic now just on the last 5 minutes, our opinions on the two leagues. Again, we're not gonna talk about our experience. We want to do another episode on that. Yeah. But kind of just like, for example, for me, I love the Premier League. You get to watch the best players in the world every week.
I agree.
As much as the money is crazy, the transfer window, it does bring some excitement as well.
That's superb. It's great.
The players. I mean, I would like to see that changed, but I don't know how that can be done. But the other thing about the Premier League is that how far will it go? Like, it's getting out of hand. Is it kind of then neglecting the lower league clubs who aren't making as money, are going out of business? Yeah, will the bubble burst? Is it sustainable? And just for my last point on the Bundesliga, the fan experience is amazing. We won't touch on it too much detail, but being involved with the clubs is really cool. Yeah. Again, you're still watching very high quality football.
Oh god, yeah.
But
it's fucking great.
It is being left behind by the Premier League.
In comparison, if you were to take like the 8th place team in the Bundesliga and put them against the Premier League, we'd struggle.
Yeah.
The Premier League
and then of course you have the Bayern Munich factor as well, winning 11 titles in a row.
That's it.
Again, a lot of it is not through, like, it's just because they're a big club and they make such revenue and they can...
A very clever club as well, how they do the commercial
really well run.
Club. Yeah. That's the standout negative for me in the Bundesliga is 100%. The Bayern Munich thing. They've won 11 years in a row. They're going to keep winning it. They're heads and shoulders above financially the other clubs, and that vicious circle will continue. They're going to keep winning.
Yeah, for sure.
After Dortmund bottled it last year, at the end of the day, that was horrific to watch.
Yeah, maybe we need to do like we want to do a Premier League preview, but maybe we need to do a small Bundesliga one as well.
Oh, wow.
We can see. Maybe.
So at the end of all this, have you got a preference? Could you pick one over the other? If I said to you can only watch one or the other of the two leagues for the rest of your life,
as a Chelsea fan, it's always going to be the Premier League.
Because of Chelsea?
Yeah.
Okay, well, take that out of it. Let's say Chelsea aren't playing in the Premier League and your favourite German club aren't playing in the Bundesliga.
On TV, I think I'd always watch the Premier League, but going to a match, I'd rather watch Bundesliga.
So which one? You'd miss the Premier League more from your life then, you think?
I think so, yeah, because what I've grown up with.
Yeah.
But I really do respect and I really enjoy how the Bundesliga is run.
That's interesting.
How the teams are run. It's unique.
It is.
Whereas like the Premier League is unique in the sense of how much money it's got, and it's got the biggest teams in Europe, and made the competitions getting a bit closer now. For example, Newcastle finishing 4th, Brighton,
competition's superb,
and Aston Villa now and it's attracting the best managers, the best players.
Yeah.
And being a Chelsea fan, growing up with the Premier League, I'm always gonna favour that. But I do love the Bundesliga, and it's really difficult to kind of...
well, I love both. I really do love both. Again, Premier League is just superb. Great quality football, the best players in the world. It's brilliant to watch. It's very exciting. I think the bubble will burst, and there's going to be some big problems with big clubs.
There'll be some reform.
Chelsea have had a lot of issues as well. Like, we nearly disappeared. Yeah. But the Bundesliga, the one big thing I will give for it as well, apart from the fan experience, is the quality overall.
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking here because I love this. The second division in the Bundesliga is fantastic. There's like teams, Hamburg SV are in there, Hanover, Hertha Berlin. Like these are Schalke, St. Pauli. These are some of the biggest clubs in Germany in the second.
Crazy,
the competitiveness everywhere after Bayern Munich is superb. It's just Bayern Munich run away with it.
FCK,
everything after.
Kaiserslautern is it?
FCK.
They've won the.
They won Michael Ballack, I think.
Düsseldorf, one of the biggest cities in North Rhine-Westphalia.
Gorgeous new stadium as well. Gorgeous stadium. Greuther Fürth, good team. Hanover.
And
no, that's not München. It's Magdeburg.
No, but when these clubs were in, a lot of them still get full attendance. For Cologne were in the Zweite Bundesliga for a couple of seasons.
Couldn't get a ticket for love nor money.
And it's crazy.
Couldn't get a ticket for 55,000 seats. You couldn't get a ticket in Cologne.
But this is
there you are. I can't make my mind up. I couldn't choose between them. I've gun to my head, I'd probably have to go for the Bundesliga if I took the Chelsea aspect out of it.
I completely understand that. Lucky for us, we like to watch lots of football.
Yeah,
and now we get to talk about this football as well.
So actually, I would love to hear from anyone as well what you guys think, especially if you've been to the Bundesliga, if you know a bit about it, what you would prefer.
Yeah.
And if you have anything to add,
Premier League fans, Bundesliga fans, let us know.
I think your paper is genuinely fascinating.
I should probably say, if you want to read this paper, again, it's from 2017. Hit me up. Derek Ray, ask for it. Anyone else want to read it?
So people, if they want to read it, they can just message you and they can get a copy?
Of course, yeah. I think it's on my LinkedIn as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You own the rights to it as well, like, don't you? The university don't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So yeah, let me know, I'll send it over.
Do that then, yeah. That's fascinating.
I've also had people as well, when I posted on LinkedIn, message me, like friends or ex-colleagues, saying like, wow, that's really interesting.
I will say, like, obviously I'm biased, but it is a superbly written paper. I really enjoyed reading it. So,
and it's so easy to write about stuff when it's something you're passionate about.
And you enjoy it, yeah. Podcast being the point in case.
There we go.
Amazing.
So once again, Gareth, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
I enjoyed filming and recording another episode with you. And to our fans, we can say fans. We have a few fans, I think.
Austria here.
Yeah,
we are big deals in Austria, man.
Yeah,
they've got tifos of us at the games. Rapid Vienna have got a statue. Man, we are a big fucking deal in Austria.
Danke Österreich. But yeah,
that was with the Austrian accent as well there.
Yeah, you know, I'm impressing for our fans.
Why?
But yeah, thank you very much for
thank you guys for tuning in.
Once again,
get in touch. Social media, all that here.
You know where to find us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, superb. Cheerio, everyone.
Ciao. Bye.